All right. Now, where is Anne? Oh, there you are. Okay, Anne, I'm going to pull you up here, spotlight you for everybody. And when I go full screen, I can see, you can usually see everyone.
Would I be in full screen then also?
When I go full screen, it usually asks me, let's see if I can do this. You're on the spotlight now. I'm just going to check that for a sec. Okay.
So I'm going to share my screen with the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Yes, I'll just, looks like it's working. I'll just say share. Ooh.
Yep. There you are. Perfect.
Oh, let's get up to the top though. Hang on.
So while Anne is preparing her slide presentation, I just want to take an opportunity to say how grateful I am to have Anne as a guest and a paid guest. She's worth every single penny and more, but I can't give you a raise yet, Anne, okay? She is, I would say, one of the best chair yoga instructor, period, in our country. Honest to God, I really believe that. She is excellent. Her instruction is gentle and informative, and I feel really grateful to have her as part of Women to the Power of 10. And she's on Earth in a Nest as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Anne.
Thank you. I look forward to our classes together. I can see a large difference in already from when we began to now also. And this is, again, it's about progression, right? It's about being gentle and kind to herself. It's about not judging ourselves, and it's about progressing forward. So it's very subtle changes. It's very subtle advancements also. So this also in the practice teaches us to be patience, right? And so this is something that we are also continuously working on, and it doesn't matter at what age or at what part of what stage of life we're at. Again, it's also about aging with grace and ease. And so is the goal, is to age with grace and ease. We're all moving in the same direction, right? It's all inevitable, and it's all nature, and it's all natural. So I love being here, and I love being able to share the knowledge and the practice with all of you every Tuesday. Okay, so it is a bit of a little PowerPoint kind of slideshow. So I'm just going to start with, so who's Anne Bentley? Okay. I'm gonna go like this. So I call it the journey, because I feel that, it's from our first breath to our last breath is what the journey basically is. We came in on a breath, we're going to leave on a breath, and it's every other breath in between that that makes a difference, right? That's what we need to focus on, and not the end result or the main the future, but everything that's actually in the present moment. So so ideally just focusing on the breath. So we call it the journey, and the journey begins. Every journey begins, a journey of 1,000 miles actually begins with the very first step. So and this is where we are at our very first step. So these are just a few things that that are important to me. I just pulled a lot of pics and pictures from things that are important to me. The first, basically, the first yama in the practice is we have the 8 limbs of yoga, and the yamas and the niyamas. The the asanas and the pranayamas. So we're doing asana right now and pranayama in our practice. But the very first limb is called the yamas, and the very first yama is ahimsa, which means nonviolence and nonviolence and compassion. And so this is kind of where I like to operate from, is the very first yama, ahimsa, peace to oneself. So compassion and nonviolence to self, and then peace and compassion and nonviolence to the world. So if we live from that one principle, it actually governs our whole life. And from here, living in unity in our diversity, right? And we're in some very changing times, but if we can look at ourselves as not separate from others, but collectively, when we look at our brother or our sister, they're actually just a reflection of ourselves. This helps us to live in unity in our diversity, right? We're all different sexes, we're all different colors, we have different belief systems, we have different creeds, we have, different preferences and opinions and ideas. So operating from that aspect of unity in diversity. And this actually is a pick. This is one of the mantras at the Shivananda Yoga Center in Val-Morin in Quebec. This is what they live by. It's one of their mantras. I have 3 beautiful children. These are just pics of what are really what is important to me. My 3 children. I have 3 adult children now. Kelsey, Jordan, and Colin. They were all born in Bracebridge, where we lived for 12 years. And 2 of them live here in North Bay, and 1 of them lives in Canada right now. They are my joy. They are my joy. Another real strong aspect of myself is also the women in my life. So I am not married anymore. I am divorced, and I've been separated and divorced since 2002. So I have created a community around myself, and it's really made up of a lot of women from all different walks of life. So I have a few pics here of women that I have shared time with. We drum together, we eat together, we laugh together, we cry together. This is our sisterhood and our connection. Mm-hmm. And balance is super important when I find myself, with these different things that qualities in my life that are present, and I work at it, and I'm conscious of it. It actually brings my life back into balance. If there's different aspects of it that aren't present, I definitely can feel myself out of balance. And so balance is really the key that we're striving towards, right? We always know when we're a little bit off balance by our emotions and how we're feeling. Maybe we need a little bit of more self-care. Maybe we need a little bit more of family time. Maybe we need a little bit more of sisterhood time, or your partner time, right? This is all balance, right? Our diet, fasting, all that kinds of things. We know when we need things. And so yoga has actually been yoga has been the strand or the thread that's really tied a lot of this together for me. I've been doing yoga so when Colin, my youngest, was a baby, he was like 1, I went to my very first yoga class in Bracebridge. We lived in Bracebridge at the time. And I was hooked. My very first class, it was a Shivananda yoga class in the community center in Bracebridge. I was a young mom of 3 children, 3 under the age of 4. And my husband had a business, a heating and air conditioning business. So he was only home like 5 hours out of 24. He was busy. So I discovered yoga, and it was like I was hooked. There was just something, there was a connection that I made with the practice, even after my first practice. So Colin is 28 years old. So I've been practicing for about 27 years now. Yoga has been a big part of my life, but it's really come and gone depending on where I was in my life, right? I was a young mom, and I actually I needed to get out of the house. I needed a peace of mind, and I needed that 1 hour for myself once a week kind of thing. But it grew into almost a love affair, the yoga for myself. And then again, you know, there were times in my life when I was going through changes. And so I would move away from the practice. Maybe I didn't do yoga for a year or so. But I always found myself coming back to it, always coming back to it, right? It was always my rock or my stone, which brought me back to that place of balance and peace with oneself is where is what I was connecting with at the time. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I needed to get out of the house because I was going crazy with 3 little children. So I'm a proud mother of 3 adult children. I'm also grandmother. My first grandchild, Arya, she's in Canada. She's my oldest son's daughter, and she's about 1 year old right now, and hoping for more. I'm the owner and the operator of Yoga Sense and Wellness Studio. I've been operating since 2014 till present. It started off with just yoga, and I have added other modalities to my business. I'm also an energy healer and Reiki practitioner. And I'll just go over a little bit of that as we go through the slideshow, just to give you a little taste, a bit of what it is. So I'm registered with the Canadian Yoga Alliance. I'm also a certified chair yoga instructor, and I have been certified in adapted Thai yoga massage. These are other just, you know, branches of the yoga that yoga has taken me down. It's all been super therapeutic, all of this. And as we age, I know that we need to modify our practice. So when I first started, I was fit, you know, I was young, and then I went through, you know, changes in my life, and then separation and divorce, and I went back to school at age 40, you know, so there are lots of different changes in my life, but it's always been there, and I've had to adapt, and the practice has had to adapt with me also. I'm registered practitioner with the Canadian Reiki Association. If you go on to the Canadian Reiki Association, you'll find my profile on there and how to contact me, and a little bit about what Reiki is. If you're interested in some Reiki, it's a beautiful holistic healing modality. I'm also certified in Access Bars Consciousness. I'm a practitioner also, so certified in Access. It's another alternative holistic modality. I went back to school in 2004 when I was almost 40, and that was a big change in my life. It was right after my separation and divorce, and I realized I had been at home for 12 years with my children, and I needed to re-educate myself. And I had to have a profession, right? I needed to support my children and my family. So I have worked right up until 2020 as a lab technician in the field of laboratory, and worked in different facilities. I've worked at the North Bay Regional Hospital. I've worked in Sturgeon for 4 years. I've been in Mattawa for 6 years. I was at Life Labs for 7 or 8 years. So I've kind of worked everywhere and know all the ins and outs of lab technician work. And in 1984, my basic, when I was in my 20s, I finished with my environmental biology technologist program. So out of that, that took me to Dorset. I worked for the Ministry of Environment in Dorset at the Acid Rain Research Center. We did a lot of lake sampling and stream sampling. I worked for M&R in Dorset. These were at the ranger station. I worked for Dr. Anthony at Nipissing University. These are all back in my early 20s, right? It was a wonderful time. I've also worked in Toronto for quite a few years doing assay work in environmental labs. And it was a long time ago, but it really wasn't. So yeah, I left that field in about 1991 when I started to have my children, and I stayed at home for about 12 years with them. So that's just a little bit about, you know, my educational background. what is my purpose in life? My passion and my goal is to empower individuals to progress towards a greater state of health and wholeness. I think I've always been conscious of that, conscious in my own health and wholeness and wellness, and conscious in others also. And that kind of led me, investigating and inquiring about, different modalities and different ways of taking care of ourselves. Through the practice and through teaching also, I love to just create a deeper sense of that mind-body connection. And also when we do that, we actually bring a spiritual awareness to us also, so that, in the beginning, it wasn't about a spiritual aspect of the practice. It was really just mind-body connection. That's why I connected so amazingly with the practice when I started 27 years ago, because it was a mind-body connection, but it grew into something deeper. It took me down some other interesting paths in exploring Buddhism and Hinduism, also, and spirituality. So, and just also right now, just, gathering and growing a beautiful and thriving community that is with my sisters, my sisterhood community, my students, and clients. And so just really building that beautiful community, watching it expand and grow. So this is just a couple of pictures of yoga that I kind of threw together. I have a home studio here in my home. So I do teach private. I was teaching group classes. I do teach private classes. And I have taught out at Mattawa days, and through the summer in Mattawa, I do eco yoga. So I love to do yoga outside, connecting with nature, and that stillness in nature. There's something quite therapeutic about doing it in nature. I love teaching yoga to all ages. And I think this is just a great picture. I kind of came across this one. It says, old is when you give up. Until then, you are spectacular. Such a great word. I don't know. And
you might like to know, we had this poster at our location at Calvin for a long time.
did you?
Yeah.
It's so motivating. It's so inspiring. I was like, yes, I know. I've had this poster. It was one of my very first ones 7 years ago when I started to build my Facebook page and everything. I was like, this is perfect. I started to teach chair yoga to seniors because in 2013, 14, when I was doing my training, and when I finished my training, I realized a lot of the yoga studios, and I trained in Ottawa at a studio called Santoja on Richmond Road. And I found that they had stairs, right? It was like a huge flight of stairs to get up to the studio. There was no elevators, there was no escalators, there was nothing. And a lot of the studios I practiced in weren't accessible to people who needed ambulatory assistance, or had walkers, or had difficulty with walking, or foot or hip or knee conditions. And so when I came back to North Bay, I was like, we need a chair yoga class, or something that's accessible to all ages, because yoga is for everybody. And so I ended up starting a community class at Le Compagnon downstairs. Actually, the community organization was Le Bon Ami. And I taught there for almost 7 years, right up until COVID began. So that was a beautiful class. Some of you may have attended or have had friends that attended class. And it's opened up. I've seen yoga for mobility, people with mobility issues and limitations. The practice has really opened up, and I've seen a lot more adapted yoga, therapeutic yoga, chair yoga. This seems to be the path. We have a lot of baby boomers that are aging right now, and who used to maybe have a practice on the mat, but can't get down there anymore, right? So we have to adapt. It's all about adaptation and acceptance and allowance. So one of the modalities that I do offer here at Yoga Sense and Wellness is Reiki. And Reiki is a really gentle healing energy. It's a hands-on modality. It's about an hour long. And a lot of times when we suffer from pain and discomfort and disease, it's often just energy blocks in our body. And so when we become stressed, when we have different pressures placed upon us, we can become unbalanced. So balance is the key here. And so Reiki actually helps to remove the blockages, remove the energy blockages to allow the prana or the chi or the ki, if we want to call it, to flow through the body much more easily. And in that, it actually can help to decrease pain and boost your immune system and really improve your healing abilities. Also, it's really therapeutic for people that are also doing chemo, pre-chemo and post-chemo. Also, there's been a lot of studies to yoga. And it's all about healing. The whole thing, everything here at Yoga Sense is about healing. Another modality that I offer is Access Bars Consciousness. Again, it's about removing some of the thoughts, ideas, beliefs, considerations that we've created through our lifetime and removing the polarities, because it's through our polarities that we don't live from that place of unity. We actually live from that place of duality, right? So Access Bars is actually another tool or process designed to facilitate more consciousness. And when we have the ability to be more conscious, we continuously wake up to more and more possibilities of grandness. So one of our mantras is, all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. And another question you can ask yourself, whether you're having, whether it's a good situation you're in or a bad situation, not bad, but not so good situation, continue asking the question, how does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this? Right? Because we're putting it out to the universe. The universe wants us to ask the questions. It's out there, creator, God, universe. We have all different names for it, but it wants us to ask the question, how does it get any better than this? If it's really great, it's going to show you even more greatness. If it's not so great, it's going to show you greatness. So how does it get any better than this? Access Bars is just working with the head. It's the 32 points on the head. The bars actually run from side to side on the head. And it's just the placements of the fingers to activate the bars. It's like hitting the delete button on your hard drive. That's the best way to describe it. The other thing I also offer, I'm an independent distributor of essential oils. Again, this is about balance. Life is all about balance. It's about removing the toxins in our life so we can be more balanced. Some of the products that I do sell they're all holistic, they're all natural, they're all very high vibrational, and they're all healing too. So again, we're working in we're moving in down that path of healing is where we're going here. So they have different products for women that are aging with yam oil, and for your hormones, different cleaning products that are all natural, because again, our body gets taxed with toxins. It's in our water, it's in our food, it's in our cleaning products, it's in our households, right? It's all around us in our environment. We have Wi-Fi bombarding us with magnetic frequencies. So the more that we can actually purify and clean the body, the better our system operates, right? And that's our liver and our organs also. So one of the great things that I have done, and I'm not sure what time it is. I don't even have my watch with me. So the yoga practice and has taken me to places like Nepal. I've been to Nepal twice. First time was in 2016 with a friend of mine. Lakshmi Kanwar. She used to own the Pita Pit here in North Bay. Some of you might
She
know
was
Lakshmi.
actually a
She's
guest. She's been a
Oh,
guest
has she?
on,
Awesome.
yes, last week, in fact, Dan.
Oh,
We
no.
have about, you have about 3 minutes left, sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to slide through this quickly. So we ended up in Nepal in 2016. And we traveled through Kathmandu. We were there for about a month together. We rented a flat in Kathmandu, and we just moved from the flat out to all these places. Like, and she speaks Nepalese, and she's from Nepal, so I had like my own personal tour guide and translator. Lots of markets in Nepal. We were there the year after the earthquake in Nepal, and it was 1 year after. So if you notice, like the temples here, this is in one of the markets, and everything had fallen over or was collapsing. So a lot of the temples and the old heritage cultural buildings were falling down. So they just had them staked with like poles.
Mhm.
It is an older country, and so it's a cultural country, right? And it has a lot of festivals. It's really drenched in spirituality, tradition, and Hinduism, Buddhism. There are private schools and government-run schools. So in the market, we came across some children. They're all in uniform. They speak English. They really wanted to speak to us so they could practice their English. Super happy, super, they love their culture. Simple life here. And it is a simple life. A lot of the market is full of vegetables, fruits. Everyone has their own little stands everywhere. Lots of color, lots of fresh fruit. My first thing I noticed was the taste of the food. It was so much more tasty and natural, is the one thing that I noticed right away. Some of the other things that we loved to do when we were in the market was drink chai tea. Chai tea stands were everywhere. I don't know. Chai tea is, we have tea bags here, but here in Nepal, they make it right from scratch. The tea stands were everywhere. And if you notice in the crowd, it's mostly men. It's like the Tim Hortons, but it's the chai tea stand. They're everywhere. But you know what? You don't see women sitting around having chai tea. It's the men. The men seem to gather there all day long. It was the best chai tea. The food was amazing. So I love to travel. And when I'm traveling, food is something that I love to try. All these different types of foods. This is it's called a pan, and they roll it up in a bottle leaf. You stick the whole thing in your mouth and you chew it for like an hour. It has cloves and nuts and spices inside of it. In the market also, there's lots of restaurants. They work hard. They work long days in hot temperatures. They're not in air conditioning. This young girl in 2016, Lakshmi and I went to this restaurant. She took me here. It was very traditional, open skillet, hot oils. And when we went back in 2018, we brought a group of women with us. She was still there, the same woman, still working. In the market, also, a lot of artists. They're very deep in tradition. These are ancient artistry tankas. They're called our mandalas. They have stories to them. The Buddhists actually, the Buddhists use them to tell their stories through history. They're very sacred. This is all hand done and decently priced in the market. In Nepal, you would pay a lot of money over here in Canada for them, but they have Tibetan healing bowls, mandalas, masks, painted masks. The market is full of life and vitality. When the earthquake happened, it really shut everything down. The tourists stopped coming. Like we met a mandala shop owner, and he said on a daily basis, he usually had about 1,000 people through his shop. After the earthquake, 100 people through his shop. It really affected their livelihood. They have They have living gods and goddesses, and they also have gods and goddesses that they worship that are not alive. So Kamari is a living goddess. She is actually a young girl. She's chosen from her family. She's actually reared from infanthood to take this role on. She's taken from her family at about age 4, and she rules. She lives in a little castle, a little house in the markets or in her palace. She has her own teachers, her own servants or whatever, till she's about age 12, till she starts to menstruate, and then she's sent back to home. It's a real honor to be chosen as a Kamari, but they do train very vigorously from the time that they're small children. Cobblers, right? Shoemakers, cobblers. In yoga, we have a pose called Bodhikonasana, and it's called cobbler pose. And this is kind of exactly, this is the pose, getting into cobbler pose. So cobblers everywhere, shoe shine everywhere. Everybody has a profession or a business to make a little bit of money, so they can buy food for their family. They strive towards also saving and sending their children to school for an education. When we were there, the Mahashivaratri festival was on, and the festival, it's the festival in honor of Shiva. Shiva is Lord Shiva is it's one of their major Hindu festivals, and it's just basically observed in honoring Shiva. No, and it's known as the Great Night of Shiva. So a lot of devotees come, thousands of people come for this one festival. Here we were there at the festival, and this is actually a priest or a sadhu giving blessings and tika. So all the colors that you saw earlier, that's called tika. That's when they place it in the middle of the third eye or in the middle of the forehead, right in the third eye. It's a blessing. And there are holy men everywhere in Nepal, especially at Mahashivaratri, right? Because they serve Shiva and they worship Shiva. They live in their own temples. They live in the Shiva temple with all kinds of monkeys. The monkeys are holy there. So are the cows. These are our holy men. They come out for the festival. Lots of them live in the mountains too, and they come down for this one festival.
And I have another, Anne Delaney is going to come on. I hate to cut you short.
Sure.
This would have been a whole presentation, I think.
Yeah.
This is so interesting.
Well, you know what? We'll stop here. Maybe on another day, I can just share my trip to Nepal.
That would be awesome. What do you think, everybody? This is so connecting us to other cultures and what life is like for other people. So I have to say thank you. I hope this gave everybody some insight into who is Anne Delaney. She is 1 in 7 billion, but she is one. She is one, just like the rest of us. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're spectacular. You're spectacular.
We're spectacular.
That's right.
I know.
No, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop. Sorry, Anne, I'm going to stop here and invite Anne Delaney to come on as our next guest. So who is Anne Delaney exactly? And I have asked her to talk about the science of dance. So I'm going to ask you to unmute, Anne. I'm going to make you co-host in case you need the screen.
Yes, I need the screen.
Okay.
I'm still seeing Anne Bentley's materials. There we go.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Anne Delaney. I'm your Zumba instructor. Harriet and I have been working together for a few years now, so I sort of volunteer. My credentials, if you want to know them, I'm a retired teacher. I taught primary school, including core French. And the year before I retired, I thought I needed something to do. So I decided to take a course in Body Flow, which is a program that Good Life offers. So it's yoga moving to music. So I did that for about 8 years. And in the course of doing that, not that I got bored with doing Body Flow, but I wanted more. So I took another course in Zumba. So I started doing Zumba after much much thinking about it because it seemed too hard to me, but I persisted. Anyway, so I've been working at Good Life since I retired, which is 2009. Of course, life has interrupted us, right? I've had hip replacements and a shoulder replacement, so that sort of stopped me from doing body flow, but I can still dance. I asked my surgeon if I could do that, and she said, yep. She said, as long as you call it dancing, you're good to go. So I call it dancing. As soon as you can walk, you can start dancing. So the whole idea of dance is to have fun. At least for me, that's the whole idea. I started dancing when I was a kid. Why? Well, to meet boys, right? Why not? And then I was inveigled into joining a French-Canadian dance troupe when I was in like high school, and that was lots of fun. We performed a little bit. I danced all the way through university, and as I just told you, when I retired, I started dancing some more. So why do we dance? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Well, first of all, it's good for you, right? It's physical. It improves your cardiovascular system. It helps with balance and strength. If you noticed, we did lateral movements. So the body's divided into planes. Front, forward, like walking. Side to side, lateral. So we did a lot of that. And then there's transitional or rotational, where you reach across and you're moving. So a lot of muscles are used in dance as opposed to walking. So let's see, I've got a list. It's gentle on your body. Now I was I read an article in the Star, the Toronto Star. It was about dance and Parkinson's. York University and McMaster have been studying dance as it pertains to Parkinson's, and has found that that dance helps to stabilize some of the symptoms of Parkinson's. So there's a big, if you want to read the article, it's in the Star, it's just called that, Dancing with Parkinson's. So the person who wrote the article talked about dancing as opposed to walking. So comparing walking and dance, well, walking's good, right? Because we're not sitting down. But imagine, and I'm just reading this, I'm just quoting from the article. Imagine walking faster and then start counting backwards. That pushes the brain more. Then imagine you're doing choreography steps. And then imagine that you step in time with another person. Then add some music. Add an instructor telling you which way to move. So that's what happens when you're dancing. Your brain just explodes. There are lots of variables that push the brain in different directions. So we forge mental pathways, new mental pathways. Neuroplasticity. So when we're dancing, did you notice any patterns? We did 2 steps to the side, repeated that quite a bit. Then we did single, single, double. And we did that for a bit. Then we did a step across, cha-cha. So you can say we did A, we did B, we did C. It's like math. Then we repeated it. There was a little intro, a little break in the music where we stopped, but then we pick up the pattern again to finish off the song. So in the course of dancing, particularly Zumba, particularly with Latin music, you get the cardio part, so your blood pressure, your heart rate goes up. And then we take a little moment, reassess things, maybe just do a step touch or a toe tap to calm the heart, and then we do it again. So we increase, so that increase in heart rate improves the cardiovascular system. You get stronger. We're doing step across things. So, okay. So let me get back to why we dance. So that's one reason, is gentle on the body. You can sit down and dance just as you can with yoga. So, cognitive performance. There's a gentleman, he's English, his name is Peter Lovett. He's called Dr. Dance, and he has a PhD in psychology. He studies dance, dancers, and human movement. He says that dance can change the way you think. So if you're interested in his TED Talks, you might like to investigate him. He's a very, very interesting person. He wasn't successful in high school, and because he loved to dance, he became a professional dancer and decided that the methods he used to learn the choreography for an hour's performance that he would implement into learning to read. So he left high school without being able to read. He describes looking at a page as just seeing black, so he couldn't distinguish the words. Anyhow, so he applied the regimen of learning to dance with learning to read. So went back to university, BA, MA, doctor. So he's very, very interesting to listen to. Now, so it challenges our brain. We want to find those patterns. It's inclusive. Everyone can do it. And of course, if we were all together, it's a social activity, right? It's fun to dance with another person, whether it's your husband, your children, or whether you're with a group of friends. So it boosts your mood.
Or your boyfriend.
Pardon?
Or your boyfriend.
Or your boyfriend. I mean, there's the lateral mambo too, right? But we won't say that out loud. So it helps to boost your mood. I find sometimes, I mean, a day like today, it's not too bad, but you know, in the dead of winter and you look outside and you think, oh my God, Christmas and the excitement's over, you might feel a little low. But hearing some music, especially fun music, you know, Love Shack, for example, is so much fun. There's lots of things that will lift your mood, but music is one of the best, I think. And then moving to music. So I'm just going to run through the list, the health benefits. Improved condition of your heart and lungs, increased muscular strength, endurance, and motor fitness, increased aerobic fitness, improves muscle tone and strength. It is weight management, and I'll get to that in a mo. And because we're weight bearing when we dance, we can develop stronger bones and reduce the risk of osteoporosis. Better coordination, agility, flexibility, improved balance and spatial awareness, because you need to know where you are in time and space to do that step across cha-cha thing. Physical confidence, mental functioning, what have I written here? Mental and emotional well-being when you dance. All right. So walking is good for your heart. I just wanted to contrast walking and dancing. Walking is good for your heart, and there are lots of benefits to walking. And they're pretty much the same as dancing. You know, you burn calories, it's good for your heart, it's good for your joints. Even if you're arthritic, it's really important to move. Walking makes you happy. I mean, shoot, walking outside, even on a day like today, noticing the leaves fall, seeing the birds. We had a cardinal in the backyard. It just makes you feel good. It's actually excellent for your legs, right? Is it enough though? Well, you might ask yourself that, but the article I read said, no, it's not enough, and I think I would agree. So poor muscle strength is one of the things that happens as we get older. I think one of the reasons it happens is because we do a lot of sitting. So if you were to clock your sitting time as opposed to your standing up time, you might find that you're doing a lot more sitting than when you were a working girl. So why should we be dancing? So I'll just give you a rundown. For calorie burn, salsa, 400 calories an hour. Swing, 550 to 600 calories in an hour. Ballet, 360 to 450. Zumba, 300 to 550. Walking for an hour at a brisk pace, and that means talking, but just below that point where you couldn't sing and walk, 180 to 230 calories in an hour. So twice that, if you're concerned about weight, if you're dancing. It's more likely to raise, well, I discussed heart rate. Inside of a dance, the heart rate will become elevated, then drop, then go up again. Within all of an hour of doing Zumba, for example, we start with a warm-up, we peak, and then we end with a cool down. So lots of ways that the heart is challenged. It's good for your joints, well, we discussed that. And it pretty much tones everything. So when we're walking, it's a front-back movement. So only the muscles that move you forwards or backwards are being worked. If we were to, walk sideways or to do jumping jacks and arm lifts and that sort of thing, again, it's only the muscles these muscles that you know what I'm saying. So you're working the lateral muscles. If you were to touch your knee to your elbow, it's rotational. And what happens with dance is all three of those planes, the forward back, the lateral, and the rotational are all worked. So you're working all of the muscles, not just some. And I don't know, I think that's it. I don't know the science of dance. There's lots of science behind it all.
I was mentioning to the group is that learning to dance is like learning a new language. And so they're on the same level. But dance and learning a new language are create synapses in the brain.
Yeah. It is like learning a new language, but learning a new language, there's no music involved. I think a closer comparison might be learning to play an instrument. So there's a lot going on there, especially if you were to play with a group. You have to listen to the group, you have to watch whoever is directing you. There's a lot more going on when you're learning an instrument. Although learning a new language, learning to dance, learning a new instrument, all wonderful, wonderful activities to help with the brain. So lots of science behind dancing and keeping the brain young. And the more we dance, the better we get at it. I encourage you, if you've never danced and never danced with me, I encourage you to try a little bit. It's all baby steps, right? When we learn something new, it's all baby steps. We don't learn to run before we learn to walk, and before that, it was crawling or slithering on the floor, whatever. So it's all baby steps. If you wanted to join me this afternoon, I'm doing Zumba with the RTO teachers, the retired teachers group that I instruct. And all you have to do is send me an email. My email address is a_Delaney@hotmail.com. And there's no cost. It's RTO Toronto Provincial has set up Zoom for RTO locals, and we can use that. We've been encouraged to use it for anything we want, which includes Coffee Club, which we've run online during COVID. We've had book club. We've just done as much as we can. The only thing we can't do on Zoom is play cards. Haven't quite figured that one out yet, but yeah, so if you want to join me, please do. We start at 1:30, go for about 55 minutes, just the way Harriet's Zumba tomorrow will be the same. And yeah, it's just fun. If you want to participate, that's great. If you just want to eyeball and say, maybe it's not for me, but I encourage you just to give it a try, right? Tap your feet, clap your hands, wave your arms. No eye rolling, no, I don't like that very much. Only my daughter can eye roll at me. And what's my purpose in my life? Well, my purpose in life is just to have fun. So I like to have fun, and I want other people to have fun.
I want to encourage you to give it a go, because you don't even have to turn your screen on if you don't want to. You can.
Although I do like to see you move, just so I can help. But yeah, you don't have to.
Well, it's all about choice, right? It's all about choice. But I can hear that echo, but we were told by our guest yesterday that, and she's an RN in the diabetes clinic. She's awesome. And she said that it's important for you to make choices to keep yourself healthy all of your life. And I think it all boils down to that. Look on the outside. It's important to look on the inside and see what choices am I making that are contributing to my well-being. I think one of the questions has to be, why are you not choosing to be well? I think that might be one question you might want to ask. Not that it has to be dance, it could be anything, walking, anything to get you moving mentally, physically, and spiritually is awesome. So, and thank you. And I hope everybody enjoyed this session. I loved hearing what everybody had to say.